you guys doing out there? This is John here from the What's It Like podcast. Today, it's my special treat to bring you the very first episode of What's It Like, kind of centering around what's going on here in southern Macoupin County and Montgomery County, a little bit of Madison County, and stuff like that. But my first guest here is Bob Krug. Bob, Mount Olive boy, born and raised, I guess. Is that right, Bob?
Well, I was initially from Bunker Hill, and then about when I was in the 4th grade, then I moved here to Mount Olive, and I love it here. It's amazing.
Yeah, you've been here. You graduated high school last year, SIUE freshman. What are you majoring in?
Right now I'm in mass communications, and none of my classes feel mass communication E, but at the end of those 4 years, it will be mass communications.
It's a good place to go. But we're not here to talk about school. We're not here to talk about, what you did in the past. We're here to talk about what's going on with you right now. The thing that makes you really interesting to me, you've been my neighbor a long time. We talk a lot. I know you're a big race fan. And the thing that you've been doing here that I've certainly been following over the last year or so, is you've been racing in the iDrive series down at Gateway International Raceway, Granite City, Illinois. Kart racing. So kart racing, I mean, just in a few seconds, Bob, tell us what it's like to be a kart racer.
It's pretty amazing. I mean, you look on the TV and you see what they're doing in Formula One, IndyCar, and even NASCAR. And a lot of those guys, they, got their start in kart racing. So it's very intense. It's very amazing, what they are doing. And, to be able to kind of do that on a smaller level and, see what they were like at the very beginning, the grassroots of what the actual sport is. It's amazing, intense, and I'm, glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, a lot of these guys started kart racing. Jimmy Johnson, kart racer, wasn't he? A little bit of motocross.
Yeah.
Probably the king of kart racing was Ayrton Senna way back in the day, and that's really where everybody starts. Even the NASCAR stars and the IndyCar stars of today, like you said. So tell me how you got into kart racing.
Well, it wasn't traditional. It wasn't like I grew up with, a rich family, and it was just kind of, something that, they wanted to invest in, or I wasn't born into a racing family where it was kind of, a given, like with Chase Elliott, he just, that's what he's going to end up being. For me, it was just kind of like a spontaneous thing. The Gateway Kartplex, like you said, in Madison, Illinois, they opened up, I think it's been about 2-3 years now, and they really haven't been that, as big as they are now. It kind of really took off this last year, but I wanted to take my dad there for Father's Day, and then I experienced it for the first time, and it was amazing, and then my lap times were really good for the first time out as well, so then I went back a couple more times, and now I sit 12th in the total ranking at the Kartplex out of like 16,000, 18,000 registered racers, so yeah, and then, getting the compliments of the professionals that race there in the private series and stuff like that, it definitely feels really good, so that's my start, and I think that's just the beginning.
So this year, we'll call it your second season in iDrive, getting ready to start up here this spring. You started with what they would call like their fall season late last summer. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was kind of a spontaneous thing that I did there as well. They already had the first race, and I jumped in for the second race. It was a 6-race series, and they take off your 2 worst races. So by the time I stepped in for the second night, basically I already had that free 2 nights off, so I had to make sure I didn't miss any others and stay on the grind, and I was very successful, I believe, in the first one. All the guys that were there previous for the spring season that year, they were all pretty impressed with what I was doing, and I was able to take home a 4th place finish in overall points. And then for the championship event where they kind of clear the board, and then the qualifiers, they all compete for the sponsorship for the Ignite K3 kart for this year. I got a 4th place there too, so I think that's pretty good, and then I'm looking forward to what we're going to be able to do this year.
Yeah, so you're in the series. Tell our listeners what that series is really about. You said you didn't come from a big racing family. You're not hauling a cart down there every week to do this. Tell us how the iDrive series works.
Well, the Gateway Kartplex, they have rental carts there, and it's not your traditional amusement park go-karts. Those things run upwards to 50 miles per hour down the backstretch. And basically what you do is you put down your fees, which are really cheap compared to a lot of other places that you could go and race karts like this fast. I think this year it's $50 a night or $300 for the entire season. They're actually adding another race to the season, so it's a 7-season basically a series for $300, which is, you're not going to be able to get that anywhere, but you go and you race their rentals, and you go out, qualify, and then there's 2 heats that follow. They have a light and heavy class down there, and obviously with my size, I'm in the light class.
Yeah, light class for you, heavy for me. Yeah.
And it's just awesome.
Yeah. So tell me about the karts themselves. Like you said, not your typical amusement park go-karts with a 5-horse Briggs and Stratton engine off the back that's seen their better days. Tell us a little bit about these machines.
These are Sodi GT5 rental carts, and Sodi they actually do a lot of private carts as well, but they also manufacture for the rentals. And the people at the Kartplex to keep these things very well maintained. Like I said, they do upwards of 50 miles per hour, and you're running around the track about the same speed as the Ignite K3s, but you can definitely do a whole lot more in the privates as well. But their rentals are definitely not your traditional Six Flags, jump around with little Jimmy and then, the entire family. This is something that's, it's very intense.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. I mean, I did this once, maybe about a year ago. I went, we'll call it a corporate event where a bunch of guys like myself, don't have a lot of experience with this. We jump in these things. I did this thing for an evening. I probably ran a total of maybe 45 minutes. I've never been more wore out from the upper body, just trying to manhandle one of these carts around there. Tell us a little bit about the track, the layout, really from that standpoint, what it's like when you're pulling some of these 50-mile-an-hour turns and the G's you might feel.
Well, Keith Scharf is the general manager there, and he was a racer himself, and he put a lot of work and time into, this track layout. So you got the sweeping turns and everything, and then the long backstretch, and then the bus stop at the very end. And it's a very technical track. It's not something you can run in like a super speedway where it's literally just straightaways and curves. And it's very complicated, and it's very aggressive on your body. I mean, like you said, you're working your arms, and for me, there's a lot of room in the cart, so my back's going all over the place. And when I get done with the night, there's welts on my back, and you're just wanting to massage the next before the next race, and you're just really sore from it. But like I said, Keith, he did a lot of awesome, things with that track, and it's amazing. And I think they're seeing the results of it now with how successful it's been with the rental series, and then the Ignite K3 that they got with the Margay Karting Association, and then the Super Comp where they take the more, the shifter carts that are running 80 miles per hour, and it's amazing.
So Bob, I mean, how much has this taken over your life, your daily thoughts? What's going on there? Friendships, I'm sure you've formed.
Oh yeah, the first night out there, I met Brendan Lauer, Austin Russell, Colin Predith, and Matt Chubb, who are all just amazing people. Like, they're genuine, down to earth. Especially Brendan Lauer. Me and him are going to be racing this year, and we're technically teammates. We've created our own racing team for if we ever go professional. It's Lauer-Krug Racing, and he's me and him hit it off the first day, and we just kind of laugh at how similar we are as people. It's like the same person. But it's going to also be interesting to see how it all turns out, once it comes race day, because you can be teammates and work together and figure out the lines. But come the 7th race of the season, and we're pretty close in points, you can't be teammates all the way down to the end. We both can't get first place. So, but the friendships that I've made there are, amazing, and definitely something that will stick with me. And like you were saying, like how much it took, part of my time and everything like that, I kind of say a lot of people were, as freshmen going into college, they're joining fraternities and stuff like that. Well, I joined a racing league. So it definitely takes up a lot of time, and you don't just go for the iDrive nights. You want to go during their normal arrive and drive sessions and race with, off the street people to put in those lap times and get into practice before the actual night.
So such a passion you've got for this thing. Where did your passion for racing start?
Well, growing up, me and my dad, the two things that we would always watch on television were professional wrestling and NASCAR. And
sometimes those lines cross.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I feel like that's like a very traditional thing for a father and son, go see the races. And then, but like for me and him, it was kind of like a yearly, like we'd switch, like we'd go, I've been to a couple of WWE events, the Elimination Chamber when that was in St. Louis, and Judgment Day. But then we would switch, and then we were going into NASCAR, and then I was given an awesome opportunity. I can't talk too much about it publicly, but I was able to go into the actual infield at Chicagoland, Gateway, and Kansas to check out what it's like behind the scenes and meet Kyle Busch, Eric Jones, and be really close to a lot of the top competitors. And I thought that was very cool and interesting. And then now, after experiencing the Gateway Kartplex, which I thought was just going to be a one-time outing with me and my dad, it's turned into something that could potentially be a part of my future. So that's definitely a passion that I've had in me, and it's just exciting to see how everything can turn out, and the actual technicality of it. People look at NASCAR and like, oh, that's boring. They're just making left turns, and but there's a lot of effort that goes into it. That's a lot of precise things you got to do as a driver, and then especially the crew as NASCAR goes and whatnot. But like I said before, the start is karting. So
yeah. Now you actually started racing in the virtual world. correct? Yeah. I know you've been doing that. You use iRacing, and you've been doing that a while. Any success stories you can tell us out of your iRacing career?
I really haven't gotten extremely successful off of iRacing. I've only gotten a couple wins in the rookie season, and I've done a lot of stuff on it. But you know, you hear stories of the big NASCAR names like Dale Jr. and there was even a video with Tony Stewart using iRacing for him to prepare for Texas and stuff like that, where he's had a couple issues. And one of my good friends, Austin Russell, he actually competes in the B class and A class, and he's almost qualified for the actual NASCAR, series or sanctioned series, the Peak Antifreeze series in iRacing, which is awesome. I've never made it that successful, but I can tell you that I've learned a lot of things in iRacing that has definitely helped me out on the real world.
Such as?
How to enter turns, how to handle the steering of it, working on counter steering, going to the turn, getting it loose, how to correct those, movements. You really, running a speedway in iRacing isn't going to necessarily help you out with something like the Kartplex where it's very complicated. But those couple, little, tweaks on how to, get the steering wheel going, manage, throttle and brake and get all that lined up. It's, definitely helped out on those situations.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I've done some virtual racing myself. I'm certainly not that successful at it, but I do know it does translate to what you're doing in the kart series. Like you're saying, making sure you hit the apex of a turn, you're coming through it, you're accelerating out of the turn. It's where you're going to pick up your time. The karts themselves, prepared in the iDrive series to kind of be in I'll use the phrase IROC to some of our old racing fans out there, very similarly prepared. It should come down to driver more often than not. Is that the case?
Well, sometimes. They've gotten a lot better with it. With them being rental karts, sometimes, they'll wear out, more than others. So there was times, during last year where a certain kart wouldn't be as good as another kart. And, numbers such as like Kart 3 and Kart 8, like which we used to make the joke where the Earnhardts, they're kind of disgracing the Earnhardt name.
That's sacrilege.
Yeah. But, they've gotten a whole lot better with that, especially during the championship. I think one of us was stuck in Kart 3 during the championship, and we were able to actually not too bad with it. So they are hearing our cries and woes for, fix the karts. But, they've gotten a whole lot better with it.
So you're definitely saying last year karts 3 and 8 not good, but even if karts were bad now, you certainly wouldn't tell anyone on this podcast what the wrong karts to pick were, would you? Yeah. So Bob, tell me a little bit about this way. I mean, you're in the middle of a race. There's typically 10, 12 folks in each segment of something like this. The experience level you're telling me is pretty good throughout some of those folks. So you're getting a good quality experience all the way through. Tell me about maybe one of your most exciting moments from last year as we look forward to your 2017 iDrive season.
Well, you definitely touched base with the experience part of it, because when I came out there the first night, Colin Predith, the guy that ended up winning the championship last year, he did karting before. I don't know specifics of that, but I know that he was very, well seasoned in his craft. And I would say the most exciting moment for me actually involves Colin, and it was like the fourth night, and it was like the first heat, and I was running second behind him, following his lines, trying to pick up the speed. And it was like the first night we ever hit in the 37 seconds, because generally you're running in 38s, but we were running in 37s this night, which was awesome to get record times. But on top of that, competing with him, and I finally got him on the turn at the end of the straightaway, which is a very risky turn because you're going really fast. And I finally got around him, and I was able to hold him off for the last 3 laps. And I was getting ready to get to the front stretch, and I turn around and see him and fellow competitor Matt Chubb side by side, and that's the moment they're ruining each other's speeds, and I've got this in the bag.
You're in good shape. Nothing better than turning around and seeing 2 guys racing behind you, because they're not coming after you at that standpoint. So, Bob, I know you're big in with the video. You've always been someone that vlogs a lot. You've got your own channel on YouTube. Tell us a little bit about that, and then how you're documenting what you're doing out there on the racetrack as well.
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel. I've been making YouTube videos for 7 years now, and it's ATA Network, and that's what the original name was. And basically, I've been doing vlogs and stuff like that. I did a lot of things for the school, and now it's more personal, like you said, with the vlogs and stuff like that, to, give people that view of, what college is like, what my life's like, so that way they can, compare it to what they might have to deal with in the future. And I talk about, stresses in my life. And sometimes it gets a little bit more personal than I would like it to be, but especially with this Kartplex situation now, originally it was just going to be me posting the raw GoPro footage, but then Brendan Lauer, like I mentioned him before, he did things where he made his videos look like a video game, where they had like a home screen, like a menu, and then you'd select your driver in the game. And then I saw that and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Kind of up your game.
Yeah, and then he kind of, because there was a moment like where I'd make videos and I would get joy from it, trying to up the next video. I did that a lot with the football tributes I did for the school.
Sure.
And seeing him have fun with it like he did, it kind of brought a light back into my video editing. So then now I'm trying to make them look like TV broadcasts. So when this next season starts, that's what the videos are going to kind of be looking like as a TV broadcast. I'm actually trying to work with a couple people for voice actors and stuff like that. Kind of get commentators going, and then trying to find people to film that night for me and get interviews going. And currently looking for sponsors as well to potentially get local companies maybe involved and promoting them, and then also helping me get that experience.
So you mentioned sponsors. How would someone get a hold of you to potentially help you out on the track?
Yeah, well, if they want to shoot me an email, atabobby@gmail.com, or you can check out our Facebook page, whether you want to go the YouTube route through ATA Network or the Lauer-Krug Racing site. Either way, you're going to get contact of me. But the cool thing is I'm not pocketing any money from it. It's going to, directly to the entry fees. And, you're going to get your logos on my helmet. You're going to get the logos on my apparel. You're going to get, obviously the shout outs during the video. And it's going to be, iDrive, brought to you by whoever. And it's going to, it's going to look really cool. And, obviously, a lot of companies may not get, the full, benefit that they would get out of other, sponsorships. But I think if they, appreciate, what I've done in the past, they're going to see, it'd be pretty fun to do that.
Well, you're a quality guy. You're a quality individual. I've known you most of your life. I'll say that. It's been that way. You're my next door neighbor, actually. But as you're moving along, so this first half season, you're going to run from what, next week, April to what? Will the first season end?
It goes into mid-June.
Okay.
It's every other week, and then sometimes I think there might be a week off somewhere in that path, but it's 7 races long.
You've got some space built in there for rainouts, things like that. I'm sure it's built into that schedule. So that's season 1. Season 2 would then kick off in,
I believe it's August.
August and run probably into October.
October,
yeah. So obviously there's chances for people to help you out there on both season sides for that. So let's look ahead. Let's look into the future, put the crystal ball out here a little bit and talk about the future. What happens here if you do well? What's your next steps in racing, if there's next steps in racing?
Well, right now what I'm looking for is kind of more immediate future. If I can pull off a win here in this first season, then I'm automatically qualified. Actually, no matter what happens, I should be automatically qualified for the championship at the end of the year for the Margay K3 sponsorship. So if I can get that cart at the end of the year, that private cart, then that obviously means that I will be competing in 2018 for the Ignite Series, probably in the rookie class or something like that. And then I will just go from there. And if I can perform well in the rookie class, then I can move up and then maybe make something national out of it. I'm not sure. But the main goal right now is just to kind of have fun with it. So,
yeah. And you're having fun.
Definitely.
Like I said, I watch your videos. I follow you online. Obviously, I think it's a neat thing to do as well. There are a lot of team sports out there. You're part of a racing team, but what you're doing is something that is truly an individual effort as a part of a larger thing. It's pushing yourself for that extra, not 1/10 of a second. It's the extra 100th of a second. It's the extra 1.5 inches that's going to allow you to get by somebody through the middle of a corner like that. Can you outbrake someone? Can you hang it out there? You had any scary moments on the track?
There's been a handful. There's been a lot. I can't lie.
I mean, you're going 50 miles an hour around. You're hanging it out there, like you said. Well, tell me about it.
Well, there's a couple I can think of, and there's 2, off the top of my mind. Like I mentioned earlier about the most exciting moment when I passed Colin Predith, because he's really fast and he's not afraid to give you the bumper. And passing him at the end of that turn when you're going 50, 45 miles per hour and you're trying to slow the cart down to make it through the turn, at the same time trying to pass somebody, making sure you don't spin out your cart, hit a wall, and that was very intense and very scary. And then I can also imagine back to the championship day when I accidentally spun out James Blair, and that caused some tension between me and him, which was, not welcomed. I'm not that kind of guy. I mean, you know me. I'm not the kind of guy to, pick a fight with people. I've never had a fight in like high school or anything like that. I'm not that kind of guy. But I accidentally put the bumper in where I shouldn't have, and he got around, spun out, and that might have been the reason he didn't win the championship over Colin Predith. But there's been a lot of moments like that, and then there's been times where other people do things where I'm automatically put into risk, like Brendan Lauer got shoved by Austin below the racing surface, and then he hit a cone, and that cone almost landed in my cart and hit me in the face. So I mean, you always got to keep your eyes open, because in any given moment, any given second, you could be in a risky situation like that. So
Yeah. So tell me about the age range of folks. You're talking about some folks that are probably similar in age to you, but throughout, you said there's a light, there's a heavy class. There's folks that do this in both of those, we'll call it classifications, I guess, based on driver weight. What's the age range of folks that are out there?
Well, the youngest they start at, I think, you actually have to be a certain age to be in the rental class. I think it's like 14 or 12 or something like that. I'm not too sure off the top of my head. But, I mean, we see them pretty young, in high school and stuff like that. And then they even go up to, I'd say, maybe even mid-30s, late 30s, up to your 40s. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of elderly people out there, but there's been a lot of people that, I'd race against in the arrive and drive and be like, hey, we need to bring Grandpa out here for this. And it's like, what?
Yeah,
but,
be careful when you're calling somebody old. You were very nice about that. There's a guy in his mid-40s. But a little bit about the experience that you're having. I mean, this has been a life-changing thing for you.
It's, I don't know. It's like if you would have told me this time last year, hey, by the end of the year, you're going to be racing in a Kart series and you're going to be pretty well. You're going to be in, like I said, 12th of overall standings. I would have been like, you're joking. So, I mean, it's been definitely life-changing, and I know it's going to be a part of my life for at least the next 2 years. And I forgot to mention this, but Colin Predith, he won the championship, so he's running in the Ignites. Matt Chubb decided, after he had a very, bad situation towards the end of the last race in the championship, so he's out of iDrive, and he bought a cart. So he's running the privates, so I'm helping them out kind of on the side as far as, making videos for them and getting them set up for the night and, kind of watching over them. So I'd see me being a part of it for the next, 2 years. And like I also, Brendan Lauer, because I know it's going to come down to either me or him end up being in a cart. He's already made the decision. He's saving up money, so where if he doesn't win the cart at the end of the year, he's going to buy one. So I know I'm going to be a part of his Ignite career, whether or not I make it to the big dogs or not. So
yeah. So when you show up on a Wednesday night, how many GoPros are you bringing with me to stick on guys' helmets and carts?
Well, the first time out, it was obviously one GoPro, and it was actually a vlog that day when I was doing it. I was like, well, I'm gonna check this out, see how it's like, and then at the end of the night, I was like, well, I'll be back here definitely. But when I went out to test this last time, I actually had 5 cameras with me. I had my new GoPro Hero 5 as my helmet cam. I had my old Hero 3 as a bumper cam. It was actually Brendan's idea. You mount it to the back of the camera, and you can have like a rear view mirror on the video, which I thought was awesome. Props to him for that idea. And then, the other 3 cameras just to get, the shots around the track and stuff like that. Because if I can't find, cameramen, when iDrive comes, I still want to get shots of, the finish line cam. And then, obviously, at the end of the back straightaway when things can get a little bit, risky to get those moments on camera.
A lot of fun. A lot of fun. Anything else you want to talk about in terms of the iDrive?
Not really. Like we mentioned before, if anyone's listening to this and interested in sponsorships, don't hesitate to ask. I mean, even if I do find somebody, there's also, more opportunities for me to, put more people on the helmet, do more things with this. And, big shout out to everyone at the Kartplex, especially, General Manager Keith for everything that he's done. He's done a lot for me personally, and he's running a really great operation at the Gateway Kartplex. And then obviously all the iDrive guys for making that experience fun, because if they weren't amazing competitors and if Keith wasn't, as great as he was and everyone at the Kartplex, I wouldn't be sitting here right now talking to you about it. So,
yeah.
Big shout out to all those guys.
Well, you're certainly a guy that's brought a lot of respect to the competitors that you compete with day in, day out over there. Given the respect to the complex manager and what he's doing. So really just a great thing. I've partaken a little bit in what do they call them, arrive and drives, where you just kind of get there and anybody can do that. It's certainly something that is not your grandma's go-kart, so to speak, or maybe your little brother's go-kart's a better way to put it. But you're going to get out there and you're going to feel it. It's definitely an exciting experience that not for the faint of heart. And I certainly would recommend anyone going out there and giving those folks at the Gateway Kartplex a shot. So, Bob, any parting words here, buddy?
Just to finish off, what you were saying there, I recommend if anyone wants to go out to the Kartplex, Tuesdays are their great days to go to for Tuesdays, because normally it's $32 for a race, which some people are kind of, have a heart attack on that. It's like, that's a lot of money. But if you go on 2 for Tuesdays, obviously, $16 a race, you really can't beat that. And then if you want to bring your buddy, split the cost there and, show them around. And, just thanks for having me on. And I, hope to do well this season, and it'd be amazing to come back and talk to you with a trophy sitting right next to me.
We'll check in with you at least a couple points during the season, and certainly do this as well. You think, all the talk we've done about the Gateway, you think they'll let me come and drive for free once?
I don't know. Yeah, you could probably sweet talk Keith.
We'll see. Anyway, hey, thanks a lot, everyone, for joining us today. Certainly a lot of fun talking to Bobby Krug again. Bobby Krug here, Lauer-Krug Racing.
Lauer-Krug, yep.
And you can find them on Facebook, and where else?
Well, you can do the facebook.com/ATA Network for my YouTube channel, facebook.com/Lauer-Krug Racing. That's LAUER, and then Krug, KRUG Racing. And then, on the YouTubes, obviously under ATA Network, Twitter, ATA Network, Instagram, ATA Network, everywhere, ATA Network.
Yeah, you're all over the social media. You are the master of that, my friend. So, hey, once again, thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Hope you had a good time, and we'll get back to you with some future episodes in the near future. Take care, everyone. Thanks a lot. Bye.